Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Been My Pleasure. Today we are broadcasting live a recorded message at the Attic in Arcadia, Arizona. Arcadia is a district of Phoenix, so if you're in the greater metropolitan Phoenix area, come on by for the best burger in town, some say the world. It's located at 44th Street in Indian School. Joining me today is my good friend, Anita Bath. And Anita is going to give us, share with us some advice she has for her fellow servers to help improve their tip share and gratuity. Anita?
I think this is going to sound kind of funny, but one thing that I tend to really do is I look for anything that I can relate to with these people, like anything that they're wearing, like if they're wearing like a Seahawks shirt or they're wearing, anything that indicates that they're into something or that, whatever, especially if it's from my hometown or anywhere that I've been that is, far out from Arizona. I typically ask about it, and people get really excited about it because you don't usually wear things unless you like them, kind of thing like that. Or like if you check like an ID or something like that, and you notice that they're from somewhere you went to school or you're from, or somewhere that's far away, you can bring it up and ask them and be like, "Oh, so you're from here?" and ask them questions like that. And people tend to really like it when you're interested in them, I think. And I think that's what I really try to do is be interested in what they're about and learn about it. I mean, you don't actually have to be interested. You just have to know how to put on a smile and act like you're amused and ask questions. You can have these questions planned ahead of time, like with things like that. But I mean, serving's kind of a little bit of a lying game in a way. I feel like it's a little bit of a just sort of playing things up and making sure you're giving great service, and that might mean asking questions about things that you really don't care about. Like, I don't care about the Seahawks. Like, there's nothing. I don't like professional football, nothing like that. But if I see it, like, I'll ask and be like, "So is that your team?" And then they'll start talking about it, and then act like you know what they're talking about, kind of thing, and be like, "Oh, that's so cool! Like, have you gone to a game recently?" And ask some questions. Sometimes it does get interesting if you keep asking the questions. Sometimes you're just kind of, doing it. But I like to make people feel special anyway, so it's nice to see people's faces light up, especially people when they come in and you can kind of tell that they're not like enthusiastic people. There's very different kinds of people that come in, and some of them are just like, "Yeah, I want this." Okay. And then if you just, ask the question, sometimes then their whole entire demeanor changes, I feel like. And then the experience becomes, like, heightened almost. It's just completely different from what it could have been if you just stuck to, the book, stuck to whatever you're supposed to do, which you should do as well, but you can add that stuff in there. Yeah. I think that's the main thing that actually really does boost my tips, is that I get information out of people, learn about them, and I'm actually pretty good at remembering people too, which is interesting. Like, I feel like if I've had somebody once before, I do for some reason remember orders. I don't know why, but I can figure out the face and the order. And so, like, if somebody comes in the second time, I'm like, "Oh, you had this last time. Do you want to do this again?" And they're just like, "What? You remember that?"
Well, okay. First things first. I don't lie to my guests.
I'm not saying like. I'm just saying more of like you have to you can be interested in things and sometimes you're just not.
Okay. You remind me of another recent guest of mine, Marky Mark.
Who was on?
And let me see. Mark, click on somewhere here to go to Marky Mark's video and check that out if you haven't seen it already. But he, what was his, adjusting your service to the guest. And that's kind of what you're talking about. If you see being relatable to the guest and forming relationships with the guest, and seeing if they're a Seahawks person, you can talk football with them, and that'll help them. You'll be have a good time. The other thing you talked about, remembering guests and remembering what they ordered. I've had guests in the past. There's a couple guests at another restaurant that similar to where you were, but another store, where they would come in every time. Both diet colas, one fish and chips, one salad of a particular type. I won't go into the name because it'll be a trademark and you'll know where I was. But it was the same thing every time. They'd come in. It was Phil and Susie, and those are not their real names. I'm, again, protecting their anonymity, but Phil and Susie were there, and every time they came in, it was a pleasure to see them, and you'd scoop them up at the door and bring them right over to your section because you knew exactly what they wanted, exactly what they needed, what the timing of their service was going to be, what their interests were for that day. If they came in on a Sunday, they were going to go see a matinee movie kind of thing, and if they came in on a Saturday, they were out shopping around doing errands, doing house projects. So it's one of those things, and I think that's what you were alluding to. If you can remember guests and what they're all about, you form a tighter relationship and you become more like family, and they're more likely to treat you better because they have now a concern for you, just as you have had a concern for them. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely, especially if you pay attention, I think, to anything that I talk about with. I mean, I personally like to, get into more like, oh, do you have kids? Things like that, and then like ask them how are they doing, the next time they come in, things like that. That's always really good because then, they see that you're interested in their lives and they become interested in you too. It's kind of a cool little relationship thing. I definitely have my regulars that come in all the time, and they always order the same thing. It's pretty great. So I think that's another way to really get better tips because then for sure you're going to be tipped on this table anyway. I mean, I'm not saying it might be like a massive amount, but generally that you're going to, you're still going to get something out of it, and you also get a relationship out of it too, which I think is kind of cool because when you have that, it makes the environment so much more interesting. You get kind of excited to see your regulars. You get pretty stoked about it, I think. I have some that I know when they don't come in. Like there's people that come in every Monday, and I'm like, where were you last Monday? Like, kind of things like that.
Well, that's great. Those are great things. So I think to summarize, get to form a relationship with your guests, and your guests will form relationships with you, and that will make things better. And you're right. I do think it makes for a great interpersonal communication there. I have guests that I give baseball tickets to because they've come in routinely, and my tickets aren't as much as what they tip me, but there's it's something for them to do, and it's the gesture, it's the thought that counts, and sincerely in that effort. Well, my friends, if you found this enjoyable and helpful and you'd like to see more tips in the future, then by all means, click on my pixelated friend's face to subscribe to this channel and we'll show you some more. If you liked it and you thought you're going to use them, give us a thumbs up. If you think that she's a terrible person for lying to her guests,
give us a thumbs down.
Oh, this is that backfired.
I'm just
teasing you. I know she doesn't really
lie to her guests.
I'm not really a liar, I promise.
Oh my gosh.
I just could, for lack of better words.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Well, yes. Thank you for joining me, Anita Bath.
Of course.
My friends, I look forward to seeing you soon. However, until next time, my name is JC. It's been my pleasure.